everybody, and welcome back to Never Being Better. And this is Sports Talk with Nina and Erin.
Okay, so in about 4 hours, Marquette Basketball is going to be playing against DePaul, so we just thought, for the time being, we would make a podcast about Marquette Basketball and kind of how they're doing and our thoughts on the season and just Shaka. Yeah. Okay, to start out, I know that we mentioned this in our last little intro to the Sport Talk segment, but we're both Marquette Basketball season ticket holders, so we go to all the games. We're big fans, watch the away games too. So we feel pretty confident in talking about this, but if we get some things wrong,
and if you want to learn about Marquette Basketball, this is for you.
True.
We know everything.
As I just said, I apologize if we don't know everything. Don't listen to her.
But anyway, so to start off with, just a little bit about how Marquette's doing right now. We've had some hard losses this year, both in conference and outside of conference, and tournaments are just out of season or non-regular season games, like the ones against Wisconsin. We'll get to that later.
That's a heavy subject.
It's a rough conversation. But anyway, switching kind of from that, in conference, currently we're in first place.
In the Big East.
It's determining of that.
And bump up a couple places because they beat Creighton. In Creighton. At Creighton. On Tuesday? Yeah.
Tuesday.
So, that was awesome.
Hello everybody, Erin here. I just want to take a quick pause on the video. There's been some updates in Marquette Basketball since we first created the last episode of the podcast. For starters, we did talk about the DePaul game that we were going to later that day. Marquette did in fact end up winning the game, which clinched them the first place title for the Big East Conference. This is the first time we've won a conference since 2012-2013 season. And despite the fact that we have 2 games left of the regular season, no matter if we win or lose, which is unlikely that we were to lose, but no matter if we win or lose, we will still have the first place spot. So I'd just like to put that out there. And in other recent news, it is Monday, so the current AP basketball rankings came out here on February 27th, 2023. And prior to this week, we were ranked 9th. We've been kind of switching back and forth between 11th, 10th, and 9th in the last couple weeks. But we are today ranked 6th, which is the first time we've been here since 1978. So hopefully this means really good news for the rest of the season. Currently we're 23-6 overall and are looking forward to what comes in the future. Sorry for that little break, but I had to update some things. Yeah, they had a very close game against Creighton on Tuesday. It came down to the buzzer, and was a very, very high adrenaline and excitement for the game. And then we also came off another good win against Xavier at home, who Xavier was our current tie for first
in the conference.
And that also came down to the buzzer.
Mm-hmm. We have a little clip of us with the last 3 seconds of the game. Erin will insert it. It's pretty funny if you ask me. It was insane. Really good game.
Yes. As you can see in the video, our faces kind of go from more happy to my mouth is wide open. I know the entire time, and then because that's when Xavier scored, I think, a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
Got the ball and ended up having with the last 3 seconds left, scoring Iguodaro to Omax, and ended up winning the game. And that was our excitement about it. Anyway, on to other things.
About the Marquette roster, our starting 5 in order.
Yeah, so we got our starting 5. We got Cam Jones, Stevie Mitchell, Tyler Kolek,
Omax Prosper, Oso Iguodaro. Really awesome starting 5. I think, especially between Oso and Tyler, there's a lot of chemistry between the two of them. You can, if you watch one game, you can see it.
Yeah. On top of that, with your starting 5, I feel like there's about 9 guys that come off the court, or that play in total, like, for most of the game. And Shaka does a good job at rotating that lineup pretty well.
Usually in the game within the first couple of minutes, which is really cool.
Yeah, so those people are...
We have Sean Jones, Chase Ross, and David Joplin.
And then Ben Gold.
And
then you got your coach, Shaka Smart. Just overall this season, this Marquette team, like, has gone from being, like, expected to be not great to, like, being in the top 10 teams in the entire country.
And top in the conference.
Now.
They weren't predicted to have, like, as much success as they're having this season, which is really awesome to have watched them, especially since Shaka basically has built this team from, like, the ground up.
Yeah.
So it's really cool seeing what he's done with this team with only basically 2 seasons and many more to come.
I mean, our starting lineup last year is very different to now.
Very different from what it is.
So you lost some really good players.
Big gained some really good players for sure.
But they were not expecting the
success that Marquette has had thus far.
In the Big East Conference, at the start of the season, we were ranked 9th.
And now
over teams like Butler. Yeah. So teams that are way behind us.
Yeah.
But so it's just crazy that, you know, a lot of people doubted this team, and many articles were written about, like, how this team wasn't projected to do as good. But, I mean, not only have they proved them wrong, but now we're ranked 9th nationally. And
gonna be first in the conference.
Yeah. And
so, obviously, we've talked a little bit about the players, mentioned the starting roster, you know, the players that sub in. But a lot of the reason Marquette is so good is because of the coach, and we do have Shaka Smart.
He's right here, right now. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's actually... Surprise! Shaka's coming on to talk.
That's a podcast guest.
That'd be awesome. Shaka Smart, if you, for
whatever
reason, we're listening or watching this, please, I'm begging. I'm literally begging you. Come
David
chat.
Busters has nothing on us.
Yeah, we should. Anyways, Shaka's definitely taken this team to places that, again, people were not thinking Marquette was going to get this far, or even last year, like his first year coaching Marquette, all new players, for them to even, like, get into the March Madness tournament was, like, a huge deal. So,
and to keep in mind, this is kind of going back with the last point, and obviously Shaka's recruiting as well, but to think of the fact that we don't have, in our starting lineup, or force 4 guys off the bench, we do not have one senior in that entire group of people. So this team is all young. I mean, majority consists of freshmen and sophomores, and even the juniors are considered sophomores because of the whole COVID rule thing. Yeah. So, like, to think of, like, a team that is so young and is, you know, is demolishing teams that have, like, starting 5 seniors or juniors team is just outstanding
with
in
coaches that have been there for years.
And then coaches that have played in, like, the NBA. I mean, look at Georgetown.
Yeah.
You know, no disrespect to them or anything, but they have a Hall of Fame NBA coach. And, you know, like, which just shows that, like, kind of where you've been doesn't have anything to do
with, like, with how your team's going to do.
Team does.
It really comes down to, like, the aspect of, like, how the team's chemistry is and, like, how the coach has, like, relationships with the team and all that stuff. And, like, from what I can tell, Marquette is, like, golden on that one. So.
And this Marquette team is also very different in the sense that if you look at teams like Purdue or even, like, U of I and stuff, and majority of the teams, like, Madison has one too, they all have their star players, you know, their guy that is on every advertisement and
is sponsored with everybody, and everyone knows them. Look out for this player. I feel like, in my, like,
we don't have
humble
one.
Opinion, we don't really have
Which is not, like, it's
not a bad
it's
thing.
not disrespecting any of the players. It's just, and that's why I think we have the, like,
chemistry that we have.
And success that we do, because usually I feel like, you know, from my many days of playing basketball back then, no, I'm kidding, I was terrible.
Right.
But I learned a lot of things from riding the bench. But no, I'm kidding. But what I do realize is, like, a team will, like, work their defense and work how they play around by, like, watching game film and stuff like that around another team's player. So you'll be like, okay, we're going to do this play because this person's really good at defense and offense, and you don't want them to get the ball because they'll score a bunch and stuff like that. It's like you work that stuff around your team, and Marquette doesn't have that one person because each person has, like, their own skill assets that is
provide for the team.
Yeah, it's so important. That
fits together like a puzzle. That's, like, my best way of, like putting an analogy to the Marquette basketball team is, like, they are, like, a perfect put together puzzle, and, like, without one player, like, it can, like,
it breaks,
and not in the sense that that player is better than anybody else, in the sense that they're so used to playing, like, with each other, and it's, like, there's never, like, oh, you gotta pass the ball to, like, this certain player because they just make every single shot. I feel like Marquette does a really, like, as a team, like, fair across the entire board.
Everybody brings their thing to the table. I mean, you have people like Tyler Kolek, who is one of the leading people with, like, assists on the team, and
almost had a triple-double against the DePaul game.
And has one of the, like, highest, like, assists count in, like, the entire country. You know, he's in, like, at least the top 5 or something like that, I think. And then you have people like Cam Jones, who's your three-point guy, and just shooting guy in general. I mean, the way that he is able to, like, I like his shooting form is like a toss into the basket.
It looks so effortless when he does it.
And it kind of, it's a beautiful shot.
He's a pretty consistent guy, I feel like.
So you have people like that, and then, I mean, Stevie Mitchell is your defensive guy. I mean,
you have a little bit of everything with this team, and it's so fun to watch it all get put together, and just being able to see even, like, how they started the season versus how they are coming to, like, an end of, like, regular season, because at the beginning of the season, like she said earlier, like, they had a really tough loss against Madison here, and whatever, we've moved past it, obviously, because now we're, like, on fire, and have been doing really good, and might I add, the Badgers are not doing good, so...
And, you know, not that, you know, we're holding a grudge or anything.
Not that we're holding a grudge, it's just a Wisconsin rivalry thing, at least for me personally.
No, I get it. So. But if we would have played them now, it would have been a different game. We cannot say that we win, because unpredictableness happens
but it would
all the
be
time.
A different game,
and people play bad games.
All the time.
All the time it happens, so, like, we're not saying, oh, we would have won, but we're saying that it would have been a different game if we were the team that we were now.
Versus even
and I think
2.5 months
at that point, we were still, like, they were still managing, like, okay, so there's these new guys here.
Yeah,
we have to work them into...
And managing, like, the loss of the players that they lost who graduated.
I mean, people like Justin Lewis and Kerqueth, like,
and
Daryl Morcell, like, you just...
And Greg Elliott.
Yeah.
Can't forget him.
Nope. You can't, like, replace some of the skills that they had on the team, but
so you gotta figure out ways to work around it, obviously.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at, like, our team, people stepped up this year. I mean, if you look at people like Oso, people like David Joplin, they all were able to, like, kind of take their place on the team, where last year, especially, Oso is one I've noticed that last year, if you look at, like, his playing time in general, I mean, he would sub in occasionally, kind of like they're doing with Ben Gold this year. Kind of like they're kind of wearing him into, like, the playing, and he'll get a couple minutes here and there. And that's how he was last year, and this year he starts, and he's a major asset to the team, especially on offense. So that is just, you know...
Yeah, it'll be really exciting to see, like, I mean, the last 3 regular season games, and right now predicted to be a 3 or 4 seed going into March Madness.
Playing like a 13 seed.
Yeah. Which, again, March Madness, you love to see the upsets, you love to see all that, but I'm really hoping for the best for Marquette.
Hey, all I'm going to say is, you know, like, sometimes consistency is a, like, challenge from what I've noticed for this team, you know, like, they have really good games, and then sometimes you get tired, you get into a bad routine, and, like, you know, not having that star player, you know, people will be like, oh, like, that's why they struggle. I disagree. I think it's just, you know, like, sometimes it's like
sometimes collectively as a team, like, you're mentally not there, maybe you're not physically there that day, and, like, that's what happens. It's not because one player is injured.
Yeah. But, kind of with that, but I think this team definitely has the potential to go far, if not even, like, win a March Madness tournament. You know, you can't say that now, but, like...
Or I could, like, surely I could see, like, a Final Four. Because I feel like...
Oh, for sure.
Because, like, Marquette has had some, like, pretty... Like, they beat Baylor this year. Like, that was
the beginning of the upsets that we had.
And that was right before the Purdue game.
Purdue. Another team, I think if we would have played now, it would have been a different game. But I want to talk about the fact that during Purdue, granted, the end of the game is kind of where we lost it, but we were leading, like, the entire game. So, like, whether that was a loss for us or not, it still was, like,
it was
wow,
huge
you
win at the same time.
held the number 1 team. I don't know if they were...
They probably were.
They were number 1 they were number 1 at the time. But you held the number 1 team the whole game, and, you know, until the last, like, 5 minutes. And that, like, alone was just like, wow, this team is gonna be going places this year. So, but that is insane. And I cannot say that any of it would have been done without the workings of Shaka Smart, who is up for Big East Coach of the Year. And... National Coach of the Year, but...
Yeah, which another thing about the team and, like, about Shaka is that he was originally, like, the coach for Texas, and some of the guys on the team were recruited to Texas, and when he came to Marquette, a bunch of the guys went with to Marquette, so it's weird to think about what this team could have looked like if it weren't for that, or if, like, if some of the players were to have stayed in Texas.
It would have been a different team.
Again, like, one player can change the team completely. So, it'll be really cool to see. I don't know, the next couple of weeks, month.
I mean, I genuinely think, and I'm not saying this out of bias, like, I don't want to be like, oh, he is the best coach. I genuinely think that Shaka Smart is the best coach in college basketball right now. The way... Also, I would like to acknowledge that Shaka coaches defense like no other team I've seen. I mean, a lot of people this year are like, oh, Marquette's an offensive team, but I don't think they understand that he, like, is almost rooted in defense in the way he coaches. Yeah. I mean, full court presses are very rare in college basketball, in my opinion, for the amount that Marquette does it in a game. Yeah. A very defensive thing, but, like, the players he recruits, if you look at them, a lot of them, they're like, you know, I think a lot of us are good shooters now, but it had to be earned over the course of, like, their time here. And I think they were recruited for defense more than offense.
And you can totally see, again, even just from, like, the beginning of the season to where we are now, like, how obviously things are going to improve as you continue a season. That's destined to happen. Like, that's the whole point. But you can see, like, significant improvements on their defense. And, again, for a team that is known as an offense team, they have a really good defense, especially when it comes to, like, some of those bigger games. I feel like their defense shines in a lot of ways.
Well, defense, I think, wins us games, where offense is just gets us
points.
Yeah. Like, I mean, our defense is, like...
You can't have one without the other.
No. Anyway, but, like, the fact that Shaka Smart saw potential for such different reasons in all these different players and, like, was able to take those set of skills and, like, kind of...
Mesh them together.
And I think, I give Shaka Smart like so much credit, but also like the fact that chemistry is a major thing.
And for a team that have been playing with each other for just
1 or 2 years,
a year and a half, 2 years, it feels like they've been playing for like way more than that.
And I think at the start of the season that kind of was part of the problem. It's they did, like obviously, you have like Oso, Kolek, and Joplin, Jones, and stuff like that were all there last year and had that chemistry between them. But when you lose people, you kind of lose that way you were able to play.
Yeah, like it makes a difference. You have to figure out how you're gonna maneuver on.
It's almost like like this new person is here, but they. In your mind, you're like, oh, they can't replace that person. But they don't, it's not a replacement thing. Because they're not going to be the same person.
Like, how are we going to make this work? How are we going to win games?
You have to relearn it to kind of make that.
To make it happen?
Yeah, literally. Basically. And, I mean, they did that. And that's why at the beginning of the season, it was different, almost a different team. And seeing them play in the way that they just kind of did stuff. But now, like, you can tell that they're close.
That was kind of like a lot of rambling about the team and about kind of our thoughts on how the season is going, like I said at the beginning of this video, but whatever. We hope you enjoyed this podcast talking all about Marquette basketball. We will be sure to keep you guys updated, especially when March Madness stuff is all posted and released. There will be a lot more about that. But in the meantime, go Marquette. Let's get the win tonight and the next 2 wins against Butler and St. John's.
For updates on how Marquette's doing, we will keep you in the loop. So,
if you want to stay
subscribe and follow us on all of our social media platforms. They'll be linked in the bio. Alrighty. Well, that is Nina and Erin checking out. So,
go on.